Guy, and yeah, so you all practically just saw me sneeze blue talking about the Liverpool versus Manchester United mess yesterday, but don't worry, I'm not gonna neglect the rest of the Premier League games. Alright, so calm down, Brentford fans. Please don't angrily send me your eyebrows in the post. Here's the Prem catch-up. Right, let's go. Arsenal 3, Bournemouth 2. Okay, right now, all the buzz from this match is about Arsenal once again winning in the last minute.
Absolute Gunners superstars!
That's the big narrative, but I'm sorry, can we just take a minute to think about how absolutely crushed Bournemouth fans must feel inside? You'll be given a lead at the Emirates inside 10 seconds. You go 2-0 up with half an hour left, and you leave the game with nothing? If this happened once this season, then fine. But no, this team went 2-0 up against Tottenham in October and still took away 0 points. The following week, they're 3-1 up at Leeds with half an hour left and still leave with 0 points. To me, Gary O'Neill, this is basic wet spun cheesecake tactics. I'm not saying Scott Parker would have been the answer because he's failing in Belgium, but even someone like Martin O'Neill would be able to see out a 2-0 lead. Can you imagine how monumentally huge this win would have been for the self-belief in the Bournemouth camp? You'd currently be sitting 16th in the league, having just beaten the league leaders, but instead you're rock bottom with a hideous goal difference of -27. How is O'Neill still in a job? I mean, even basic dinosaur coaches like Sam Allardyce, do you think they would have chucked away a 2-0 lead at Arsenal? No chance. But as for this game, oh wow, did Arsenal throw everything in Bournemouth's face? They had 80% possession, 31 efforts at goal, 17 corners to 1. Let's be honest, Arsenal deserved to win this match. But the fact it took them over an hour and a half to finally take the lead, I think if they hadn't won this game against a team Liverpool recently beat 9-0, Mikel Arteta's head would have exploded in the dressing room. And again, can I ask Arteta, why is he continuing to persist with starting Takehiro Tomiyasu? You know, the Japanese Wan-Bissaka? Ben White needs to start over this one-dimensional right back, and he proved that by scoring a vital goal. But yeah, Reece Nelson, the sub who replaced the sub. What a goal! What a moment. I, like many others, thought this guy was wasting his life on the Gunners bench. This kid was always talked about as being an elite teenage superstar, but we just saw him failing to impress on loan at Hoffenheim and Feyenoord. The writing was on the wall. He was just a fat chunk of lettuce who needed to be sold to Stoke. To me, he was just Arsenal's version of Callum Hudson-Odoi, a homegrown academy graduate who's just not good enough. This kid is a 23-year-old man, but this season, he's got 3 goals in 3 Premier League games. And I mean, I say 3 Premier League games, but I mean, he was given just 1 minute against Wolves, so really, it's 3 goals and 2 assists in just 84 minutes in the Premier League this season. I remember Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, while at Arsenal, said that he wanted either score or assist in every match he played. The guy never got close, and Mosley looked like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle who had eaten too much pizza in the sewer, but Nelson has directly contributed to 5 goals in less than 90 minutes on the pitch. I know, okay, I know. I'm fawning over Nelson so much, I sound like Lisa Simpson in season 8. But Arteta needs to get him in the team more. He's like a secret weapon. I mean, do you really think O'Neill was warning anyone in the Bournemouth defense about Nelson on the Friday night? No, but he just absolutely shattered your heart. But I'm still going to call it. All these powerful last-minute wins, it's only going to hurt all the more when Arsenal don't win the league. This outpouring in the last minute reminded me of when Danny Welbeck scored a 95th minute winner against Leicester in February 2016. Suddenly they were going to win the league. Selfish in the dressing room. They didn't. And that famous goal mean absolutely nothing to them. Sorry Arsenal, but Man City are going to hunt you down. Man City 2, Newcastle 0. Newcastle's record at the Etihad is absolutely pathetic. I'm sorry, I know it's daunting turning up to a ground stuffed with world superstars, but still, the last time Newcastle left with any sort of result was a 0-0 in November 2006. If I'm right, that game was actually the same day that Ireland beat South Africa in the rugby. Let me just check. Yeah, 11th of November. My memory is ridiculous. I remember football games from 17 years ago, but can't remember my own mum's birthday. That game was so long ago. Micah Richards had just made his City debut. Joey Barton hadn't yet switched clubs and got to jail. And Alberto Solano played in the game. Yeah, he's 48. Since 2006, the aggregate score at this stadium in the Premier League has been 51-7. Although, to be fair, I know the Magpies did win 2-0 at the Etihad in the League Cup in 2014. Not sure how. They had a spine of Paul Dummett, Mehdi Abaid, and a teenage Adam Armstrong. That spine is about as flimsy as a homemade Buzz Lightyear toy, so this result wasn't a huge surprise. Newcastle's third 2-0 defeat in a row. Although, to be fair, they didn't play badly. Sean Longstaff, Callum Wilson, and Anthony Gordon just looked like petrified geese in front of goal. On another day, who knows? They could have stolen a point. But no, Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva got the goals. But I'm gonna say something unpopular right now. No, it's not that Simon Cowell looks like a Botox frog. No, it's that Newcastle United need to move away from picking Dan Burn at left back. It's simple physics. The guy is nearly 7-foot monster. The guy is just Gandalf without a beard. He probably needs to duck when entering anybody's house. Honestly, this man probably lives in a barn. Part of me thinks he's 1/3 horse. And so yeah, as a third choice centre back, absolutely brilliant, sure. But as a starting left back, put him up against short, nimble, skillful players with a low centre of gravity, and they absolutely weave around this brick from Blythe. Imagine putting this guy as a left back in La Liga. The fans would look at him as if he's the mountain of Game of Thrones. He'd probably break his ankle in a game of 5-a-side. I mean, this man's head is 2 meters away from his feet. He is a centre back, that's what he is. So for a club wanting to be hunting down the Champions League and winning trophies, to be persisting with Burn at left back, no, it's like a rich man like Prince Harry, a man with all the resources in the world, just getting the local pizza guy to fix his radiator. Yeah, no, fair enough. Anyhow, might have decided that Matt Target is actually about as exciting as burnt rice Krispies. But the obvious move to make is a £30 million deal for Arsenal's Kieran Tierney in the summer. That is the priority transfer that needs to happen. Get Tierney now! Nottingham Forest 2, Everton 2. Put some respect on Jack Colback's name. I know, I never thought I'd be sticking up for that ginger bag off his fingers. Sure, while at Newcastle, the likes of Rafa Benitez and Steve Bruce thought he was about as much Premier League material as a sneezing porcupine. Well, funnily enough, those coaches prioritised Isaac Hayden, who's currently rotting away in the Norwich City treatment room, probably being fed mince meat through a straw, while Colback, he's a little terrier in the Forest midfield. Fair play, my expectations of him couldn't be any lower this season. Imagine telling someone last summer the Forest would buy 30 new players and yet Colback would still be in the team. There'd be more chance of Seth Rogen morphing into an actual alien. But no, Colback, here's your flowers. You've been great. And Brendan Johnson too, after a slow start of the season, I thought this Welsh winger was just an overpriced chicken who belongs to the Championship. But at 21 years old, the guy's got 9 goals for Forest this season and is comfortably their best player. But if I was the English press, I still wouldn't be rushing out to get his name tattooed on my neck. I'm guessing his agent is probably slamming his head against a brick wall over Johnson's decision to declare for Wales 5 years ago. Because honestly, this guy was born and raised in Nottingham. If he hadn't smeared his passport in Welsh sheep's sick, then I'm sure Gareth Southgate would be giving him a ring. But don't get too excited because he reminds me of Scott Sinclair, who ironically was an Englishman playing in Wales. When he was 31, he'd scored nearly 30 goals from the Swansea wing to get them promoted, then chipped in with 8 goals as they finished 11th in the Premier League, including a superstar goal against Chelsea, his former club. Then he moves to Man City, loses his confidence on the bench, and has only scored 3 more Premier League goals since. Sure, he was an absolute superstar at Celtic in the lowly Scottish League, but he just looked like a stale cabbage for West Brom, Aston Villa, Preston, and now Bristol Rovers in League One. Honestly, why didn't he just follow Brendan Rodgers to Liverpool? He'd have been in a front 3 with Sturridge and Suarez, with Raheem Sterling on the bench. But I mean, it wasn't just Sinclair who ruined his life moving to Man City that summer. Worryingly, the other winger who did that was also called Johnson. So honestly, Brendan, if Manchester City show an interest in you, look at what happened to Scott and Adam. Sure, it might be tempting, but in the same way your parents must have told you not to accept ice cream from strangers in the street, just say no. Southampton 1, Leicester 0. Okay, I didn't see this coming. I assumed all the fight had gone out of Southampton's eyes, that giving the management job to the unproven Ruben Selles, some guy who recently managed the Valencia under-18s. I thought it was like asking a homeless man to perform open heart surgery. Some might say that Selles is turning them around. Oh really? Because I just saw them lose to Grimsby Town at home. But to be fair, Carlos Alcaraz scored the only goal and Southampton somehow won the match against a club they once lost 9-0 to at this ground. But for Leicester City, this is a weird spot. They don't get much media attention, so people don't realise, but most Leicester fans want Brendan Rodgers sacked.
This is just not funny anymore. Something needs to change. Go to the KP Stadium on Saturday and we all sing We Want Rodgers Out. Come on, top, sack Rodgers today, please. Sacking time on a Monday morning, this.
Can I remind you, this is the man who won Leicester City the FA Cup and got them to finish 5th twice. Is there any set of supporters who don't get spoiled for their own success? Are there any supporters who are able to remember that, oh yeah, we've been overachieving? Leicester aren't going to sack Rodgers, and why would they? Who are they going to get that's any better? Right now, if you scan through the Leicester City forums, some of them want the third era of Nigel Pearson. That man is more of a dinosaur than the Jurassic Park T-Rex. Since leaving Leicester, can I remind you that this brutish ogre has been sacked by Derby County after 14 games and Watford after 22 games. Clearly, he's about as much fun in the staff room as having a picnic with Peter Sutcliffe. Yeah, I mean, if you don't pass the jab, you're getting a sausage fork in your eye. Pearson wasn't even deemed good enough to coach Leicester's feeder team, OH Leuven, anymore. So, I mean, it's been like Kim Kardashian. I mean, forget the marriage reconciliation. It'd be like her deciding that she no longer even trusts Kanye West to babysit the kids. I mean, Rob Hasenhüttl is mentioned on the forum. Rodgers literally beat him 9-0. Will Still at Reims is a very heavy option on the forum. Yeah. He's 30 years old. I mean, Rodgers has managed giants like Liverpool, Celtic, worked under Jose Mourinho at Chelsea, won an FA Cup, nearly got Leicester City back into the Champions League. And you want to replace him with some ginger bloke who hasn't even got a UEFA Pro license? Are Leicester City fans really going to be inspired by the guy who looks like he belongs to Football Daily? Honestly, he's just Joe Tomlinson. If Joe Tomlinson ate all the pies when Rodgers was hunting down a Premier League title race at Anfield, still was the assistant coach of the Preston under-14s. Why do under-14s need an assistant coach? Is it just someone to give them Jaffa cakes at half time? The links to an English coach like Still, they just remind me of John Herdman, a 47-year-old from County Durham. Yeah, he took Canada to the World Cup. Forget the fact he spent 12 years of his life in women's football. You know, like the bloke off Bendit like Beckham. I'm just waiting for him to get a link to the Premier League. Just because he's English and clearly isn't terrible at his job. Some Leicester fans are wanting to dip into the Championship for Michael Carrick or John Del Thomason. Are we forgetting just how good a coach Rodgers is? Honestly, it's baffling. Brighton 4, West Ham 0. Oh, West Ham are having a horrible season. Poor old David Moyes. There's a man who put the pieces back together in his career after his horrible Sunderland nightmare. The man was damaged goods. He was linked with a return to Everton, and the fans probably had to stop themselves from getting sick on the bus. I mean, back in 2018, the man was having to fight off weird links to Nantes, which is a coincidence because they only mentioned Adam Johnson 2 minutes ago. But he rebuilt his life at West Ham and looked to be going out of football on a high. No, instead, it's back to another relegation battle with most of the fan base demanding he lose his job. Honestly, they spent nearly £200 million this season, piling on top of a supposed 100 million superstar in midfield, and to be sitting 16th and a 4-0 battering at Brighton. Fair play, Brighton were class. And you all know that I'm excited about Evan Ferguson, and I can't wait to see him score his first Ireland goal. But you know what? Shout out to Danny Welbeck. He came on and belted in a goal to compound the misery on his former boss. Lad, Welbeck was scoring goals in this division 15 years ago. He's been on Match of the Day for nearly 20 years. The amount of damage that's been done to his body since. You swear this is a long drawn-out movie of Saw. He's played for 5 different clubs in the Premier League. He's 32 years old and hasn't set foot in the Championship since 2010. To look at his career, you wouldn't have been surprised to see him move to Turkey about 5 years ago. But no, honestly, the longevity this man has shown, when his feeble body probably has bones that feel like wet newspaper. Honestly, Welbeck, well done. But yeah, West Ham were utterly hopeless. Declan Rice came out after the game and said he doesn't listen to critics because
if they were experts, they'd be playing on the pitch, and they're not.
You don't need to be a highly paid Premier League prima donna to know about football, Deck. And I don't care how much this guy smiles and kisses his badge. This man refusing to sign a new contract. He's holding West Ham to ransom in plain sight. If this guy truly cared about the Hammers, he'd put all his confusion and unrest to bed by just signing a new deal during a relegation fight. I mean, that's what Jordan Pickford just did at Everton. But no, the guy clearly has no intentions of being at West Ham next year. But it just reminds me of Ryan Fraser, who clearly dropped his work ethic down the toilet during his final months as a Bournemouth player. I mean, the guy was already daydreaming about media links to Liverpool and Arsenal. But because his performances fell through the floor, oh no, instead it was no longer Arteta or Klopp who wanted him. He just had to settle for a bear hug off Steve Bruce. So just be careful, Bryce. If you keep playing like an underwhelming sack of baked potato, then forget about a move to a Champions League club. You'll probably just have to stay another year before leaving for Tottenham on a free. Wolves 1, Tottenham 0. What is the point of this Conte project? I have no earthly idea how Tottenham are in the top 4, because just look at their form sheet this season. Look at all those defeats. There's so much pink, you'd swear you were watching Legally Blonde 2. Here was a pretty meek and pretty limp 1-0 defeat at Wolves. Yes, I know Antonio Conte has been obsessed with Adama Traore for years. He's been wanting to buy this speedy beefcake for a solid 7 years, going back to his Chelsea days. So the irony won't have been lost on him watching this from his hospital bed. He probably nearly burned his tongue on his soup watching Traore score the winning goal. Lads, Tottenham, especially away from home, are a spineless, inconsistent bunch of meatheads. That's already 13 defeats for the season. Lads, Tottenham were just dumped out of the FA Cup by Sheffield United. Where was the reaction? What's even weirder to me though is that Conte is supposed to be an Italian master tactician who can squeeze out results even when his teams don't play well. Lads, Tottenham have only drawn 1 Premier League game since August. The rest have either been losses or wins. What Mourinho would do is turn a bunch of those losses into undeserved points. But Conte can't do that. If you can't win the game, then snatch a draw, but he clearly can't do that. The game management is nothing special. If you didn't know Conte was in the dugout, you'd think this is the work of Nuno Espirito Santo. Honestly, Conte, this is just bah! Chelsea won, Leeds 0. Don't read into this too much. Chelsea are still in crisis. Sure, beating Leeds United 1-0 at home is a breath of fresh air for Graham Potter, but it's still unconvincing. Go back to Chelsea's meltdown in late 2015. They briefly stopped the rot of 3 defeats in a row by squeezing a 1-0 win over relegation threatened Norwich City at Stamford Bridge. Diego Costa scored the only goal, but had Chelsea turned a corner? No. Within 2 weeks, they were letting Bournemouth leave Stamford Bridge with a win. I'm sorry, but with all the monster superstar players Chelsea had compared to Norwich in 2015, and similarly when compared to Leeds now, then it would have been criminal if Chelsea didn't win those games. And I'm sorry, but a dour 1-0 win against a team in a relegation battle is the most unconvincing way to take 3 points. Just a month before that Chelsea match, Norwich had travelled to Newcastle and conceded 6. Yeah. Newcastle also got relegated that year. So yeah, don't read too much into this, Chelsea fans. You are still in the mud. Oh yeah, and Leeds are going down. Brentford 3, Fulham 2. Are Brentford really getting into Europe? The team who I said would go down? But first of all, get Matt or Sullivan into your fantasy league teams. This 23-year-old Israeli winger has only just forced his way into the Fulham team, and he's scoring every single week. But listen, both these teams have had brilliant seasons so far. Ivan Toney is still defying logic with his insanely ice-cool penalties. And once again, he nearly scored from the halfway line. Toney is brilliant. Honestly, I see this man getting a return to Newcastle to play in Europe next season because he's incredible. I remember a few years ago reading a headline where he said while at Peterborough in League 1 that he could score goals in the Premier League. And I looked at the headline and laughed. He was playing in the 3rd division. To me, this was like Jake Paul saying he wanted to win boxing world titles. But I'm sorry, Tony, you're better than anybody ever thought. Rafa Benitez won at Newcastle, clearly thought he was just a fat lump of ham. Aston Villa 1, Crystal Palace 0. Lads, how many carbon copy 1-0 home wins were there this week? Yeah, another pretty forgettable watch this. Wilfred Zaha had an early goal chalked off for offside, and I maintain, I said a few weeks ago that he'll never score for Crystal Palace ever again. And I stand by that. But yeah, Villa grind out a 1-0 win through a walking Anderson own goal, meaning that Patrick Vieira has not won any of his last 10 games as Palace coach. This is a club who sacked Frank de Boer after not winning 4 games. I don't want to put out bad vibes, but Palace fans, tell me, do you want him sacked? Anyway, that's what you let me know what do you think. Let me know in the comment section below what did you think of the game week. Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.